Hey film fans, I'm Jack Benner, and I'm here to do my top 10 favorite movies of 2016. Since I've already done my best of list for 2017 through 2019, I decided to do my best of the year list for 2010 through 2016, and I'm starting with 2016. 2016 wasn't the best year of movies in my opinion. A good first half from January to April, summer movie season, not very good. Then the fall season, made up for it, got some good movies there. So it was like a 50-50 year of like good movies but some meh to bad movies at the same time. Now I just want to say before I get into the list, this list is entirely my opinion. If there is a movie on here you disagree with or a placement, that is fine. I respect your opinion. And also if there is a movie on here that you've never seen and it sounds interesting to you, please check it out. Regardless of their placements, all these movies are worth checking out. Now before I get into the top 10 list, I have 8 honorable mentions in alphabetical order because that's how I like to arrange my honorable mentions. Starting off with a movie that just almost made the list is Deepwater Horizon, a very riveting true story on the 2010 oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Then Finding Dory, while not as good as Finding Nemo, still a satisfying sequel. Hell or High Water, another movie that just almost made the list. A very great crime western movie with excellent performances from Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, and Ben Foster. Then The Jungle Book, easily the best Disney live-action remake so far. Manchester by the Sea, a very moving drama about grief with excellent performances from Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams. And then Moonlight, although it is a movie I never want to watch again, it is still a very powerful coming-of-age film from A24. Then Nice Guys, a witty and entertaining 1970s comedy with amazing chemistry from Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. And finally, Star Trek Beyond, one of the most entertaining films of 2016. I liked it more than Into Darkness. I don't like it as much as 2009 Star Trek film. Great visuals, strong cast, really fun movie. And with those out of the way, let's get into the top 10 list. At number 10, 2016 in my opinion is one of the best years for animation, and this was one of my favorites that year, Kubo and the Two Strings. I loved Coraline, I loved Paranorman. Kubo is definitely top tier Leica films, and this film shows why they're a strong stop motion animation studio, and I hope they continue making movies. I'm just gonna say this film might have the best stop motion animation I have ever seen in my life. There are just so many gorgeous shots in this movie that just made my jaw drop and are still in my head just thinking about them. And I can't even imagine the amount of detail and hard work that put into this animation. Just props to Leica. And not only did this film get a well-deserved Oscar nomination for Best Animated Film, this film also got a visual effects nomination as well, which is awesome. It's got fun action, a great voice cast, especially Charlize Theron as Monkey and Matthew McConaughey as Beetle. It's got heart, it's got excitement. I just absolutely loved Kubo and the Two Strings. At number 9 is one of the most intense movies I saw in 2016, and that is 10 Cloverfield Lane. I remember seeing the trailer for this movie in January 2016. I was like, whoa, they're already making a kinda sequel to Cloverfield and it's not coming out until March. I was like, they're getting a sequel out fast. Could this be really good? I was like, oh yes. Dan Trachtenberg did such a good job directing his first big movie, and this film shows his true potential as a director. This was a very intense movie throughout, just the riveting mystery and the claustrophobia. Mary Elizabeth Winstead does an amazing job in the role and still the best performance I've seen from her, and I've liked her since Scott Pilgrim, and I recently liked her in Birds of Prey. She is just a smart character, you really want her to survive. But most of all, John Goodman. Wow. If this film came out later in the year, not March, I guarantee that his chances of getting a Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination would be higher. I love John Goodman, I always have. This is honestly the best performance I've ever seen from him. There are times where he can come off as polite, but there are times where there are signs that he's definitely crazy. And John Goodman just sells the role, just the creepiness, the menace. He just owned this role, and he is my pick for supporting actor of 2016. He was so good in this movie. Even though I wasn't a fan of the ending, I absolutely loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I thought it was a very satisfying kind of sequel to Cloverfield, and I liked it more than Cloverfield. At number 8 was one of my most anticipated movies of 2016. I'm so happy this didn't disappoint. Deadpool. After X-Men Origins Wolverine and that awful portrayal of Deadpool, Fox, what were you thinking? And now in this film we get to see Deadpool properly. It was such a blast from start to finish. Ryan Reynolds is pitch perfect as Deadpool. You can really tell how passionate he is about the character, and you can tell this is a role he wanted to play for so long. And in my opinion, he is up there with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man level perfect casting. It's absolutely hilarious throughout with the self-referential humor or the fourth wall breaks. Great action from the highway scene to the 12 bullet scene. And it's also got heartfelt moments as well, to which I feel like is an underappreciated aspect of this movie, and I thought it worked. And Deadpool was everything I hoped it would be. At number 7 would be my runner-up for my favorite animated film of 2016, that is Moana. And fun fact, Moana is also the first movie review on this channel, so in some ways Moana does hold a special place in my heart. And like Deadpool, this was one of the most entertaining films of 2016 that just gave me a huge smile on my face throughout. Gorgeously animated, just from the water, underwater, sand, and the amount of detail put into the animation is just amazing. The catchy and memorable musical numbers like How Far I'll Go, Shiny, You're Welcome, which is still stuck in my head after all these years. I love the two leads, I love Moana, I love Maui, I just love their banter, their arguments, and just seeing them work together as a team and overcome their obstacles, which was so satisfying. This is definitely up there with one of my favorite Disney revival era films, and Moana was just great. At number 6 is a movie that got a wider release in January of 2017 that really hit me hard. It was just wowed by the end of this movie, and that is Patriots Day. And this is Mark Wahlberg and director Peter Berg's third collaboration after Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, and I think this might be their best film. This was a powerful true story on the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, and I'm also happy that this film paid tribute to the victims of the Boston Marathon bombing. This film has fantastic performances all around from Mark Wahlberg giving one of his best performances, J.K. Simmons, John Goodman, his second appearance on the list, Kevin Bacon, Michelle Monaghan, and Peter Berg did such a good job directing, riveting and engaging throughout of the manhunt, trying to find the terrorists responsible for the bombing. And as soon as the first bomb went off, my jaw was on the floor, my heart was pounding, I was just in awe, both intense, and yet I feel like it was realistically directed to where I felt like that's how it actually happened. And it was horrifying. And even though people were worried that this movie came out 4 years after the event, and I believe you don't have to wait 5 to 10 years to do a movie on a certain event as long as you got the right material, like a good cast, good script, and a good director to make this movie truly work, and it did. And if you've never seen Patriots Day, please check it out. And now we're getting into the top 5, and at number 5 is my favorite animated film of 2016, Zootopia. And Zootopia came out earlier in 2016 in March. It was still able to stay in my top 5 throughout the year. I pretty much loved everything about Zootopia. From the fantastic animation along with the unique world building. I love these two main characters, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde. I love seeing their banter and them trying to work together to solve the case. It's also a very funny movie, especially with the DMV scene, the sloth. That was freaking hilarious. But also in the third act, it introduced themes of prejudice and even drugs. And I loved the movie before that. And when we got to that point, that is where I honestly loved this movie even more. It was very surprising to see, considering this movie was more than just a movie with talking animals living in a city where predator and prey get along. I do admire the writers of this movie just not being afraid to tell the themes of this movie in a pretty good way. Zootopia is such a heartfelt and entertaining film for kids and adults to enjoy, and I've watched it a bunch of times. And this is my favorite Disney revival era film, and I want a sequel to this movie so badly. What could they do with the world building? I want to see these two characters again. Maybe they could solve another case as well. I love Zootopia. My favorite animated film of 2016, and definitely deserved its Oscar win for Best Animated Film that year. At number 4 is one of my favorite sci-fi dramas I've seen in a while, Arrival. Prisoners was excellent, Enemy and Sicario are great films. This film shows why Denis Villeneuve is one of the best directors we have working today, and I'm so excited for Dune next year, my most anticipated film of 2021. I love how this film shows how important communication is and vital to saving our world. I thought Arrival was an engaging film throughout, just trying to figure out how to communicate with these aliens and going inside the UFO. A great cast all around, Amy Adams giving personally my favorite performance of her, and how she wasn't nominated for Best Actress, I just don't understand. and Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker are great as well. The great musical score as well, and the amazing visuals, and when we first see the UFO, my jaw dropped. Now I'm glad this film got a Best Picture nomination as well as a Best Director nomination for Denis Villeneuve. That makes me so happy. I love Denis Villeneuve as a director. Arrival was amazing. At number 3 is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, and Batman v Superman. This is how you do it right. Captain America Civil War. This was easily my favorite superhero movie of 2016, just being so excited for this movie. It lived up to the hype. While I do love the action, comedy in this movie, what I particularly love about Civil War is you understand where both sides are coming from Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. Steve Rogers with not trusting the government after what happened in The Winter Soldier. Also Tony Stark feeling responsible after what happened in Age of Ultron and when he created Ultron. And you do understand the other sides of the characters if you think about events of previous MCU movies that do make sense. And this was also well written and perfectly balanced story. And I never felt like there was one moment that was rushed or that the film was trying to get convoluted. And Civil War was also great introductions to both Black Panther and Spider-Man. Black Panther was awesome in this movie. We got to know him pretty well. His motivations made sense. And Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. Just still shocked that he passed away recently. I miss him so much. He was amazing as Black Panther. We get to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man for the first time and introduce him in the right place of this film, and we get to know him a bit more before the airport sequence. And for the action, the airport sequence is just fantastic. It's exciting, funny, and also simple to follow as well. It's funny, it's got good drama, engaging conflict. This is one of the best superhero films ever made and top tier MCU films for me. And not only does this film show why the MCU has been perfectly set up and why I love it so much, but this film shows why Anthony and Joe Russo were the perfect directors for Infinity War and Endgame, and they are the best directors in the MCU. At number 2 is the movie that almost won Best Picture at the Oscars despite that mistake that happened, if you remember. But I still love this movie, La La Land. La La Land is simply one of the best musicals ever made, if not the best musical ever made. Now I remember seeing La La Land in theaters. It was before the end of the year, and the 2 closest theaters that I usually go to did not play La La Land yet. And the closest theater that played La La Land was 25 miles from my house, and I've decided, no, I am not waiting until 2017 to see this film. I want to see this before the year ends, and it was so worth it. From the opening tracking shot musical number of Another Day of Sun, I knew I was in for something special. And this was Damien Chazelle's follow-up film to Whiplash, my favorite film of 2014, and I think it is on par with Whiplash. This was such a great story about the dreamers just living their lives in LA and their struggles along the way. This was a phenomenally directed film by Damien Chazelle, and he definitely deserved his Best Director Oscar win. Just making the movie look so beautiful, the choreography and the dance sequences, the singing, and even the impressive long takes he uses, it's just fantastic. The great performances from our 2 leads, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, giving the best performance of her career. So happy she won Best Actress. And also the fantastic soundtrack that just makes this movie. So many great songs that are catchy, memorable, and emotional. Another Day of Sun, Someone in the Crowd, City of Stars that won the Best Original Song Oscar, and also the audition song, The Fools Who Dream. While it does have one of my favorite openings of all time, this film has one of my favorite endings of all time. An amazing epilogue that was a great combination of happy, but also sad at the same time. Even though it was close to winning Best Picture, La La Land is a musical masterpiece. Alright, come down to this. My number 1 favorite film of 2016, film that I absolutely love the most. My favorite film of 2016 is Hacksaw Ridge. Mel Gibson returns to the directing chair 10 years after Apocalypto in a big way, and gives us one of the best war movies I've ever seen, up there with Saving Private Ryan. This was such an inspiring story about a religious man who did not want to touch a weapon or take a life when he joined the army. He wanted to save lives as a combat medic, and seeing him become a hero in the Battle of Okinawa was truly satisfying. Andrew Garfield as Desmond Doss is absolutely incredible in this movie, and this is the best performance he has ever given. And I'm happy Andrew Garfield got an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for this movie. And I guess that kind of makes up for him getting snubbed for The Social Network, but still happy it was nominated. And I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion here. I think his performance is better than Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea. I wanted Garfield to win the Oscars so badly. He gave so much to this role. From his accent to the sympathy, the physicality of the role, the emotion. Garfield absolutely knocked it out of the park. And a really good supporting cast as well, from Sam Worthington, Teresa Palmer, Hugo Weaving, Vince Vaughn. The musical score, the sound design, the editing are all great as well. I was loving the movie before the war sequences happened. Just seeing Desmond Doss overcome the obstacles and proving to everyone he is not a coward. But when the Battle of Okinawa started, my jaw was on the floor and I just loved the movie equally. They are absolutely brutal to the max, and yet I feel like they were realistically directed by Mel Gibson, to where I feel like this is how it actually happened. This is one of the most inspiring true stories of heroism I have ever seen, and Hacksaw Ridge is my favorite film of 2016. And those were my favorite films of 2016. And a few things I would like to ask you: what did you think of 2016 as a year overall for movies? A good year, meh year, bad year? Let me know. And also I'd like to know, what were your favorite movies of 2016? Top 5? Top 10? Let me know below. And also make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.